Hey, Daniel Midson-Short here. Happy 2020. I hope the new year and the new decade is off to a good start for you and your family, and you're excited about where you're heading in the new year. Speaking for myself, this new decade has got off to a bit of a rocky start in that, unfortunately, part of my business that I've been working very, very hard on the past 6 to 12 months of last year completely fell apart this week and was an abysmal failure. And I'm sharing that because I want to talk about in this video today the reality and the truth about failure as I have experienced it in my life, and hopefully give you some insights that might help you moving forward into this next decade, because one thing is inevitable. If you are going to try to achieve goals in your life, you are going to hit failures. So I can't really go into the details too much of the failure that happened as a result of the events this week, but suffice to say that part of my business completely fell apart and it was a horrible waste of time as I'm seeing it now, but I learned a lot along the way and I have to now move on from it and rebuild and make things stronger. And as much as that sucks, it's also a big blessing in a lot of ways. And that's what I want to explain in this video about the realities of failure that we all face and how at some stage in our lives, we have to learn to lose before we can actually win. So stick with me. I've got a couple of points here that I want to go over that I hope will be valuable for you. So the first thing that I want to talk about when it comes to failure is that intrinsically, I think most of us fear failure from a very young age, right? It's sort of ingrained into us to try to win in our lives, but try not to fail. Avoid failure at all costs, right? Because with failure comes ridicule and rejection. Sometimes you're ostracized, you're laughed at, whatever it is. And even though that may not actually happen, the fear of that happening makes us fear failure even worse. What can happen as a result of possibly failing stops us from trying to actually succeed because we're just trying to minimize our losses rather than further our gains. Now, what this eventually leads to, especially as we grow into adults, is this kind of, average reality where we live a normal life, but we don't really risk very much because we're actually mitigating the failure. We're trying to stop ourselves from, risking too much, and therefore we're actually stopping ourselves from failing too much, right? It's a pretty common thing. You might know it as the comfort zone. We all have one in certain areas of our lives. And a comfort zone can be very relaxing and comfortable and enjoyable. But if you're a certain type of personality like I am, what I call an actualizer, it is also painful to live too long in a comfort zone. You have to try new things, set new goals, reach for new horizons in your life. And when you're doing that, you can't help but have to take these risks. And therefore, that goes against your program that you had from a very young age, which is to mitigate and to avoid failure. And the way I see it is the problem with never failing is that you don't grow. And if you don't grow, you don't actually feel alive in your life. So therefore, failure is actually a direct link to feeling alive in your life if you think about it in a certain way. Not that I'm saying you should actually go out and try to fail, on purpose, but you should put yourself in situations where there's a risk of failure, because when you do succeed, and sometimes even when you fail, you feel completely alive. Now, I want to give you 3 lessons that I've learned about failure that have actually changed over the years. I'm now 42 in my life and I have this certain perspective, and the 3 lessons that have really helped me to overcome this fear of failure in my life. And even though what I've been through this week, I've reflected on these lessons and they've helped me to move forward quicker than I would have in the past. So here they are. Lesson number 1, only one part of your life is a failure. Now, what I mean by this is, let's say that you have a breakup in your life, or a business deal that goes badly, or you fail in some certain aspect of your life. You can start to feel like your entire life is an abysmal failure. What's the point? Everything I do doesn't work. I may as well just give up and stay home or whatever. But the truth is, if you look at your life, not every single part of it is a failure. Just that aspect of your life that actually failed right at this moment. And the risk is, if you awfulize the failure, you make it into your whole life, it starts to limit who you are. So what I have learned to do over many years is to say, okay, I failed right now in this aspect of my life and it sucks and I'm upset about it and I'm frustrated and I'm dejected. But if I look at the rest of my life, things are actually going okay. At least they're normal. I have a semblance of normality. I feel comfortable in those areas. So I can depend on those things. The failure isn't completely overtaking my life. and I can bounce back from it. I can depend on those other aspects, the people and the relationships, the good parts of my life, maybe even just your health, whatever it is. The failure isn't your entire life, and you have to remember that when you're going through it, because that helps you to recover from it. Number 2, the lesson is the prize of failing. Now, what do I mean by this? Now, as many of you know, I've been competing for the last 5 years for the World Championships of Public Speaking. Every year I spend from February through to August competing in many levels of the contest through Toastmasters, and I attempt to win the World Championship of Public Speaking. Saying it now, it's almost become a bit of a cliche, right? Because I talk about it all the time. But what that contest has taught me is that the failure actually creates a lesson, and that lesson is the prize. Every year that I've failed, I haven't got to the top and won the whole entire contest. A specific lesson has appeared. Sometimes immediately, sometimes it takes a couple of months or another year, but a lesson appears that makes me realize, I can do this to improve as a speaker, to become better as a competitor, or whatever it is. Even in my character, I become stronger. And those lessons only are available because I failed. And I would guarantee whatever you're going through in your life right now, if you're facing a failure, there is a lesson there that is actually the prize behind the failure. So be grateful for that lesson, embrace it, incorporate it into what you're doing, and get back on track. Number 3, failure reveals your true character. There is nothing better to show the world who you truly are than failing in front of a lot of people. So if you start a business, or you enter a contest, or you ask someone out on a date, or whatever it is, if you do something publicly and you get a failure as a result, the world is watching how you respond. Okay, the people around you, closest to you, people you don't even realize, are watching how you behave on the other side of that failure. Will you just simply give up, or will you dust yourself up, pick yourself up, and will you get going again, right? The failure develops your character, and it develops faster than winning does. I have won many, many times in my life, and the winning has taught me nothing. No character has been developed by winning. Winning is very easy. But when I fail, when I have to look deep inside myself and say, okay, this situation is not what I wanted, but I've got to still suck it up and I've got to get back out there, that makes a huge difference in my character. And that's what's most important, is that you develop character as a result of the failure. So I know these 3 ideas aren't earth-shattering. You've probably heard them in some form before. You can read a ton of different books about failure and perseverance and grit and courage. But the fact is, you have to face your own failures in your own way. And the thing that I would say that has stuck with me throughout all the years and has come back to me this week as I've had to stomach another failure is that the only way to truly fail is to never try again. Now, in some circumstances, you can't persist in the exact same way. Let's say you ask someone out and they say no. It doesn't mean you keep asking that person out forever and pestering them. Or let's say you fail in a certain business, doesn't mean that you have to keep pursuing that particular business. You can find another business or another person or another situation to keep evolving and developing yourself. But if you give up, if you just give up on life and you say, I'm not going to try anymore, I'm just going to sit back and be passive, that to me is the only true way that you can actually fail. Other than that, all it does is give you great lessons, it gives you gratitude for the things that are still working in your life, and it reveals your character to you and to the world. So I hope this little synopsis has been valuable for you. I'm recording this video just as much for myself right now as I am for you. Hopefully it gives you some insights and it helps you to overcome whatever failure you might be going through at this moment. Because believe me, failure is never final. And as you develop yourself, you will look back in the years to come on the failures that you're having right now, and you will realize that they're a pivotal part of your life. So thanks again, as always, for watching. I hope this has been valuable. My name's Daniel Midson-Short. Please stay connected. Leave me a comment below if you'd like to share your experience. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching, and thank you for improving yourself.